Was Kunigami's reintroduction bad for the story? Was it someone else than Luna that crushed Sae in Spain? And will Rin's salary drop at the end of the Neo-Egoist League? Those are just some of the questions I will be answering today, as I a couple of days ago asked you guys for your spiciest and most insane Blue Lock hot takes. I will say if I agree, disagree, or think something completely different, which is the best thing about all of this. We have all different opinions on the series, but if I say something crazy or wrong, don't get too crazy on me in the comments. Anyway, with that boring intro out of the way, let's get right into the first one, which is a bit of an exciting one, and it goes as follows that Isagi and Rin are on par with the new Generation 11. Now, I would be inclined to agree with this hot take. We only currently know about 3 new Gen 11s, those being Sae, Lorenzo, and Kaiser. Now, Sae is a bit hard to compare to because firstly, both Rin and Isagi were a lot weaker back in the U20 match, but also because he didn't go all out. Lorenzo is also a bit tricky as we haven't seen Rin going against him, which leaves us with Kaiser, which makes it a lot easier. Because I can think of at least 2 moments when Rin outclassed both Kaiser and Isagi, firstly being the time when he legit grabbed Isagi, and also when Gagamaru saved his goal in the last second. Even with their combined efforts, both of them fell short of Rin, which for me is enough proof that Rin is new Gen 11 level if he was able to handle firstly a new Gen 11 and the second best player in the Neo-Egoist League by himself. I also think that the case for Isagi being on the new Gen 11 status is pretty clear with his and Kaiser's recent team up. They both kind of agreed that they needed each other to win this game, and I don't think that Kaiser would align himself with someone who isn't on the same level as himself. Also, almost every match they have scored the same amount of goals, not to mention that Isagi scored 1 more than Kaiser in the Ubers game. You could make the argument that Isagi has more allies around him, which helped him make it possible, which I completely agree with, as Kaiser only had Ness, which is no longer usable. But yeah, in my opinion, both Isagi and Rin are new Gen 11 level. The second one is a bit interesting as it says that Kunigami never should have been reintroduced into the story. His inclusion in the story has been minimal at best, and it lowers the stakes of losing in the earlier selections of Blue Lock. On top of that, besides locking up Shido skill-wise, he is being surpassed by a majority of the cast of Blue Lock. I think that the idea of bringing someone back was a great idea in theory, and also got us something to wonder over, because we had no idea what that door meant in the beginning, and we had that in the back of our minds throughout the whole U20 match. However, I do think that it was somehow poorly executed. Don't get me wrong, in the beginning it was great. Isagi got to see Kunigami again after a long while, and realized his change. We also saw that he was a lot better, as he was firstly ambidextrous like Noel Noah, but also by the fact that he finished alongside the top players in the obstacle course in the beginning. But when it came to the matches, he fell short. He only scored thanks to Isagi, but it wasn't long before Isagi was way ahead of him, which makes you wonder what really happened in the wild card, as Kunigami looked destroyed when walking out of it, which indicates that it was a hard challenge for him, but most of the players who didn't go in there is either on the same level or ahead of him. I think that placing him in the same team as Kaiser and Isagi was a mistake, as he had no room to do anything after a while. Moving on, we get to another one which says that Leonardo Luna is not the one who humbled Sae. Leonardo Luna, who is 27 years old, is not going to humble and crush the dreams of some kid from the academy. Now for the longest time, I had thought that it was Luna who did crush Sae's dream, but that's because I had never looked at it deeply, and I had no idea that he was 27 years old. And he has to be a really twisted human to go to the academy and crush someone's dream just for the fun of it. However, if it isn't Luna, then you start to wonder who it really is. It's probably going to be a future new Gen 11 if you ask me. It's going to be a striker who was so insanely good, and I'm talking like Loki level, but someone that good, which just destroyed Sae's chances of ever getting the striker position. And I do think that we will soon learn more about Real, where we could possibly know more about who crushed Sae. Hey, it's Natsu mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? Next one says that Rin's value will drop in the PXG versus Bastard Munchen game due to the play he made, and I'm guessing that he was referring to when Rin stopped himself from scoring an easy goal just because he thought that Sae wouldn't think that it was good enough. Now I definitely understand where this is coming from, as a club obviously doesn't want a player who's just going to give up on an easy and free goal. So it might make some clubs think twice, but I also think that his performance in this game makes up for it, as firstly he did score a goal in the end, which was absolutely insane, not to mention that in his destroyer mode he's been toying with Isagi and Kaiser, so even if some clubs are hesitant to bid on an irrational player like Rin, I know that there will be some messed up club owner who won't say no to such a beast. Alright, the next one says that way too many characters got extremely disappointing development while others have just shot up like crazy. It just feels like characters aren't growing unless they are a main Isagi rival or are on screen in a match with Isagi. Now I definitely see where this argument is coming from. We have a ton of potential in characters that hasn't yet been delved into, and some may not even get delved into. Some examples could be just Tokimitsu and Zantetsu. However, I do feel like there's a reason for this, which is that the cast is just too large. Now, when making a football manga, you are bound to have a lot of characters, and when writing the story weekly, it's easy to forget or not pay too much attention to some characters who aren't that huge to the story. This is why it's mostly Isagi's rivals and his teammates who get these amazing power-ups. And how awful it may be, I feel like it's for the greater good. I feel like it might be too much trying to come up with different characters, unique developments and power-ups, and instead put his focus on the characters that matter. That sounds a bit mean to the lesser-known characters, but I'm also not saying that I'm necessarily happy with it. For example, I really like Zantetsu's character, even if he's barely in the story anymore. So I feel your guys' frustration with characters not getting proper development. The one after that asks if Itoshi Sae will play for the U20 team after the end of the NL. Now I don't know if this would be considered a hot take, as it's more of just a question, but it's about Sae, and as you guys know, I can't stop talking about Sae, so I will go over it anyway. In my humble opinion, I do feel like he will. The reason for him joining in the U20 match was mainly because he wanted to test the power of Blue Lock and his brother, and now that he has experienced just how furious and wild the Blue Lock players can be, I don't see him skipping this chance. Now the argument might arise that it might be that Ego won't allow Sae to play in the U20 team as he isn't a Blue Lock player, but I just don't understand that argument, to be honest, as Ego literally invited all of the U20 players to train in Blue Lock after their defeat, which shows that he clearly values the regular players as well. And the reason for him putting them in the Neo-Egoist League was purely to make them better than they already were. But when it comes to Sae, he doesn't really need it, as he's already extremely talented. So I definitely think that Ego will invite him. Now I don't see him saying no to the offer either, as firstly he might not have been interested, as he said that there was no striker worthy of his passes. But Blue Lock has proved that statement to be wrong, and for anyone to just decline an offer to play in the most prestigious tournament in football is just stupid. After that, we have one that says that Kunigami will transition to defense, joining Aiku in the U20 World Cup. Now this is interesting, as I've seen a lot of people saying similar things and theories towards this, and in my opinion, I don't hate it. Look, Kunigami was a cool addition at the start of the Neo-Egoist League, and he was pretty good in the beginning as well, but then slowly but surely, as the matches progressed, he didn't really do anything, didn't get a new weapon, and wasn't too involved at times. So that makes you wonder what's next for him. And looking at his build and everything like that, I can see him being a defender. Putting him side by side with Aiku will be crazy, as they will be like two monsters that you will never be able to get past. Now with that said, I don't know how he's supposed to get himself a spot as a defender when Ryu and Nico already exist, and it also kind of defeats the whole wildcard thing, as I'm pretty sure he was meant to become ambidextrous like Noah so that he could be a better striker. But I don't know, Kunigami is a hard case to deal with right now if you ask me. Now we will do one last one also involving Kunigami, and that hot take, or rather theory, is that there could have been multiple winners from the wildcard, considering Ego said, and the only man to walk out. Basically, the word choice used means that there could have been multiple people to walk out of the wildcard, and that they just didn't qualify. Now if this is the case, then it doesn't change too much in my opinion. We just know that everyone else wasn't good enough to qualify. Or, well, it does change one thing, which is the theory of what happened in the wildcard. The theory that I've seen the most has been that Kunigami had to eliminate the others to get himself through. But if this theory is correct, then it doesn't seem like it was built up like that, and rather that they had to do something extremely hard to get through, and that the only one who managed to do it was Kunigami, and it might have been so hard and tough that he came out like a totally different person, and it changed his whole perspective. But let me know what you think about this theory. Anyway, this was my first video reacting to hot takes, which is why it was a bit shorter. However, if you enjoy this type of content, then please tell me down below, as I would love to do more. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.